The Chicago Bears have found their new running back coach in Eric Studesville, and we're going to talk about what that means for the Bears running back room. Running back room we just talked about yesterday. They also continue their search for an offensive coordinator, and Press Taylor may be the one pulling away from that. And we're going to look at the pending roster decisions and cap situation. Who are some of the biggest cap cut possibilities for the Chicago Bears? We're going to talk about all that and more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Eric Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. We got to start off with the news. The Chicago Bears have hired Eric Studesville as their new running back coach. Studesville is now his second stint with the Chicago Bears. He did join the team as a quality control assistant back in 1997 when Weinstead was the coach. He spent 4 years here in Chicago and served as a wide receivers coach and assistant special teams coach from 1999 to 2000. Since then, he's been the running back coach for several NFL teams. He was running back coach with the New York Giants in 2001 to 2003, the Buffalo Bills from 2004 to 2009, the Denver Broncos from 2010 to 2016, then the Miami Dolphins from 17 to 25, and he also served as the interim head coach with the Broncos in 2010 and the co-offensive coordinator with the Miami Dolphins in 2021 and associate head coach in 2022. He did win a Super Bowl with the Broncos in 2016 as well. This is a guy that's worked with some amazing running backs when it's all said and done. He worked with Marshawn Lynch, Willis McGee, C.J. Anderson, Rasheem Morset, Tiki Barber, Fred Jackson. He worked with a lot of really great running backs. So especially when you look at a running back, coming into their second year like Kyle Monangai, Eric Studesville should do an absolutely fabulous job with Kyle Monangai and just keep going what was one of the best running back duos in the game of football last year with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. As on yesterday's episode, what was your confidence level going into the 2026 offseason with the Chicago Bears running back room? And I missed it. That's a miss on me. I didn't even bring up the running back coach when I talked about that. I was more so focused on the players. But I tell you what, having now him to replace Eric Bieniemy, another ball-headed black guy, by the way, as well. Like it's like is Ben Johnson? Is he profile? That's a joke. I should not make that joke. It was a joke, I promise. But with that said, I think this is a really great hire. A really great hire. Somebody who's been a running back coach and at that position for that long. And when you really look at it, most of the teams that he's had stints with, it's been multiple years, right? He was with the Broncos for 6 years, with the Buffalo Bills for 5 years. So, when Ben Johnson talks about wanting people around that want to stay in this building, want to stay with this organization, want to see this process through for years, he probably got that guy in Eric Studesville. Now, for what it's worth, Eric Studesville has served in other roles as well. So, we'll see. I don't think anybody's going to poach him. I think this guy at this point is firmly implanted as a running back coach, and he's kind of fine. And that doesn't mean that he can't do some other things. That's what it comes down to. Like I said, he's been the associate head coach in some other places before, but you want people in your building that are going to do what their job is and that you can trust. Like I said, the job of every position coach is to be an extension, of course, of Ben Johnson, no doubt about that. But on top of being an extension, be able to take things off his plate, be able for Ben Johnson to trust that they're doing the right things, keeping the same voice, keeping the standard up. And Eric Studesville seemed like somebody who's going to do that. He's going to hold these running backs to a standard. And if the Bears do something like I hope and still draft or bring in another running back to add depth to that running back room, and you look at us having Deion Hankins in here, right? Another guy that, Eric Studesville could be tasked to, hey, what do we really have in that guy? Let's see throughout training camp. Let's see throughout these mini camps what we really have in him before we make a decision to bring in somebody else. Eric Studesville could be a guy that does that. So I think this is a great hire for Ben Johnson. It's damn near the perfect hire. I think this is going to be somebody that we don't have to talk about next year, potentially going out and getting another job. I think he's going to be somebody who's here for the Chicago Bears for a long time and is probably going to be here 4, 5 years, if not more, especially if we're having success and we turn around and have the same running performance that we did last year, he's going to be here for a very long time. And I think that's a key to all this. You want the same voice. You want those type of things to go on here. And Ben Johnson, I think, made this decision not only because of the history that he has, that Studesville has in working in the NFL with running backs, but also because, hey, now get somebody who, we always knew Eric Bieniemy always wanted to call plays. Eric Bieniemy wants to be an offensive coordinator. Unfortunately, his personality is grating for some. I don't think it should be. Eric Bieniemy is the type of coach I would want. I would want an Eric Bieniemy level coach for my kids, for example, right? Like, I would want somebody who doesn't take any bullshit. But he got his opportunity, and now Studesville gets his opportunity here in Chicago, and we get to see what that's going to look like. So let me know what you guys think on the hire down below. Is this the right hire for the Chicago Bears? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. One of the other positions that the Bears do have to fill is their offensive coordinator position. And while the Bears have already requested interviews with Connor Singer of the Arizona Cardinals and Troy Walters of the Cincinnati Bengals, Troy Walters did decline the request. It seems like, according to some, that there's already a favorite internally with the Chicago Bears. Now, keep in mind, they have to interview external candidates. They have to. It's just it's part of it, right? But it seems like the Bears passing game coordinator, Press Taylor, may actually be emerging as the favorite candidate to get that. Not JT Barrett, not Antoine Randall. This one comes from the NFL Network, Ian Rappaport, who reports this. He says, in the building, if there is an option, Press Taylor is considered to be an offensive coordinator candidate and has done an excellent job in several stops. Certainly someone Ben Johnson will consider. Now, when I talked about my internal options for the Bears, I didn't even bring up Press Taylor. So miss on my part, right? When you look at it, Taylor has served as the offensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars from 2022 to 2024. He worked his way up with the Philadelphia Eagles, initially starting as the offensive quality control coach in 2013 to 15. He then received promotions to quarterback coach, to assistant quarterback coach, then quarterback coach, then passing game coordinator as well. Then he also served as a senior assistant with the Colts in 2021. So Press Taylor has the history. He has, you typically like to see guys that have worked their way up and had several jobs. That's what you like to see for an offensive coordinator, that have had lots of different position coaches and stuff like that. Ben Johnson did it. Declan Doyle did it, right? So that's typically what you like to see. Now, I do think Ben Johnson's qualifications for an offensive coordinator may be a little bit different, as Ben Johnson, at this point, still wants to call all the plays. He's going to, the majority of the plays. There are some times where Declan Doyle called those plays as well. But again, the benefit of hiring somebody internally is that they already have a relationship with the players. You don't have to question if they can build that connection. They already have the history with the head coach. They already have been in your building and have seen what you're trying to build and what you're trying to establish with your team. So you don't have to have as many questions about that. Now, Ben Johnson's been around the league long enough. He's been in enough staffs. He has enough people to where he's going to know any candidate. He's going to know a lot about that candidate before they even bring him in for an interview. He's not going to bring in anybody for an interview he doesn't feel can do those things anyway, right? But just to have somebody internally that you trust is a little bit different, right? And I've said that before. I would love to see this Bears organization be one of those organizations that start promoting from within, and they do so not out the sense of like nepotism, but out the sense of the fact that, hey, we just have the right guys in here. We have a staff that everybody here we believe in, and we're developing those staff. Developing players is great, and that's the thing that helps franchises extend themselves so much on the football field. It helps you save money. But when you can develop your coaching staff as well, that's where you really start building culture. And that's something that's so important to me. I talk about that a lot with the Chicago Bears because I think as a franchise, that's one of the things that has held us behind the eight ball, is that we have never really established a culture because of all the changes that we made and just the fact that we've made some pretty bad head coaching hires as well. So if Ben Johnson is the guy, and like I said, based off last season, I feel like he is. And, I also like to always throw out the caveat. We've seen some other coaches that have really great first years that don't necessarily pick up off that the next season. So that concern is still there and valid for a lot of Bears fans. So I want to be clear in that. But outside of just that part of it is that I really would love to be a franchise that we really start seeing us develop from within. I would love to be to eventually be like, hey, that guy, he's a video guy right now. And 8 years later, hey, he's the offensive coordinator. He's the defensive coordinator. I would love to be that franchise. And that's just the fan of me. Again, lifelong Bears fan. The only football team I've ever been a fan of is the Chicago Bears. That's not to say that I haven't had some other teams that I'm like, damn, I like that team. But the team that has my heart has always been the Chicago Bears. My 39 years on this planet, it's always been the Chicago Bears. So I would love to see this team, this franchise, this organization get to a point where we're able to be that team that is just developing from within. And even if some of our candidates go out, and like I would even be able to love to see a coaching tree, right? Like to see, in 5-6 years, like, damn, the guy that's the offensive coordinator, he was our quarterback's coach a couple of years ago. Then maybe that guy eventually comes back. Maybe he becomes the next head coach eventually, the associate head coach, right? Like, I would love to see that for this Bears team. That's just a fan thing, right? That's not necessarily an analyst thing. That's a fan thing, but that's my thought process. You guys can let me know how you feel down below. But let's get into the main topic for today, right? The Bears, we all know the salary cap restrictions that the Bears are under right now are one of the biggest question marks on how they can improve this defensive line, because they have to make cap space somewhere. But it's not easy. Of course, as fans, we can say trade this player, we can say cut this player without really thinking about what that does for that position that we're cutting it from, just so we can create a surplus somewhere else, right? But the Bears have to address the defensive line. And they also have to get creative. I've said it before. This may be one of Ryan Poles' best season where he's going to have to actually cook, in the sense that not just draft, not just the free agency, but you're going to have to see Ryan Poles restructure contracts. You're going to have to see Ryan Poles cut some players that maybe you wouldn't want to cut other times. You're going to have to see him, have to trade some players. Those things are there. And the Chicago Bears right now, with where they are, they have to improve this defensive line. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We have to improve this defensive line. That's it, right? And so with it, and with the Bears having the season that they have, beating the Packers in the wild card round, being this close to going to the NFC Championship, we really could have done it, right? At this time now, the Chicago Bears really have to look at what's coming up next for this team and how they can get there. And there are a few players on this roster that, again, are candidates to be cut. Now, I want to be clear here. In no way am I saying that all these guys are going to be cut. I'm not saying that these guys all should be cut. But I am saying that right now, where the Bears are, they're going to have to make the tough decisions in regards to that. And some of these heads may roll for the Chicago Bears to get that done and to get to the place that they need to get to and be able to have the flexibility that they need to financially. So with that said, and all that prefacing done, hey, stop yapping. Let's get into working. Let's get into doing that. I want to talk about the three players that the Bears that could be cut. I'm not saying all these guys are going to be cut, but these are probably three players that the Bears are going to have to seriously consider doing something with. The first guy is DJ Moore. Now, I would love to see DJ Moore traded more than cut. Even if you don't, like, I've seen people say, well, let's trade him in the deal for Max Crosby. You don't have to do that, right? You can trade him and not keep in mind, this is the NFL. It's not the NBA. You don't have to take a player back to trade a player, right? So if the Bears can find a suitable place to trade DJ Moore and maybe get this draft capital back, which then gets you an extra draft asset on top of creating that roster space, then you can do that. But there's no doubt about it that, if the Bears are looking to make some tough decisions in some roster cuts, one of those guys could possibly be DJ Moore. $23.4 million per season is what he's making through the 2029 season. There is a mutual opt-out after the 2027 season, but unfortunately, the Bears have to make decisions now, heading into the 2026 season, right? And because DJ Moore didn't necessarily have the best statistical year for the Chicago Bears, it leaves them in a place where they may have to make a tough decision in regards to DJ Moore. Now, I would say this, the chances of DJ Moore being cut, highly unlikely. I think if anything, you trade him. Like, this is a player that teams around the league are going to want. We've talked about the teams that can absolutely do that. Now, if you cut DJ Moore this season, right, it doesn't save you a whole lot of money when it comes down to that. He still would turn into a lot of dead cap if you were to cut him, so therefore, you're not going to cut him. But the trade aspect of it is why DJ Moore could potentially not be a Chicago Bear anymore. The others that you can really cut DJ Moore would be the 2027 season, where it only turned into $8 million in dead cap, and then that way it gets you more flexibility. You don't really get flexibility by cutting DJ Moore. You get flexibility by trading DJ Moore, and I've talked about those reasons. Draft pick, compensation, whatever it is, on top of the salary cap savings if you decide to do that. But cutting DJ Moore, I just don't see that really being an option. Even if you were talking about a post-June 1st cut, I still don't see that being an option for the Chicago Bears. But again, an option that could be there for the Bears. Next up, the next player that could be cut and that I do think is more likely of a cut is Tremaine Edmunds. Now, heading into the 2025 season, I would have all bet Tremaine Edmunds was probably going to be a cap casualty because of the salary cap situation that we're coming into. But under Dennis Allen, Tremaine Edmunds had a bounce back year. It was a great year for Tremaine Edmunds in a Chicago Bears uniform. He went back to being that linebacker in coverage that we wanted to see him be when we drafted him. And that was when we signed him. That was one of the reasons we signed him, is his ability in coverage. He had 4 interceptions last year in coverage, and even the interception number, 9 passes deflected on top of that as well, 112 tackles. He's had 100 tackles in every season of his career, 61 of those being solo tackles, 1 sack, only the second in the Chicago Bears career as well. This guy with the 4 interceptions, the 9 passes deflected, the sack, everything that he done, like Tremaine Edmunds earned a spot staying on the Chicago Bears team. I want to be clear here. But again, it comes down to the weight. Like, if the Bears feel like they want to bring in a big-name veteran defensive end option and they feel like they can draft a linebacker that can come in here and do what they need to do, Tremaine Edmunds could still very well possibly be a cap casualty with that. So, you know, you look into the 2026 season for Tremaine Edmunds. When you look at it, out of his $13 million contract, only $2 million would turn into dead cap. So you get a savings of almost $11 million by cutting Tremaine Edmunds. So there is a possibility that Tremaine Edmunds is cut. I'm not saying that it's a hugely likely, because again, it seems like Dennis Allen loves him. He played very well under Dennis Allen, and you want to reward a player that plays well. And sometimes, again, what's my thing? Every offseason for every team in sports is about finding answers to questions instead of creating more questions where you don't have to. Tremaine Edmunds last season became an answer. He became an answer to a question for the Chicago Bears in that linebacker room, in that linebacking position. And because we already are not going to have TJ Edwards to start the season, we know that much. Noah Sewell is not going to be healthy to start the season either, right? We have those questions. Like, yeah, DeMarco Jackson's probably going to be retained. You're probably going to draft a linebacker somewhere in this draft, but it would be creating another gap and another hole to cut Tremaine Edmunds. But again, with all things being even, if the Bears do see that, hell, if Tremaine Edmunds is the difference between them being able to trade for Max Crosby or not to be able to absorb that salary, guess what? You're probably going to choose Max Crosby if that's the case. If Tremaine Edmunds is the difference between being able to sign Trey Hendrickson and Tremaine Edmunds, you may have to make a tough decision there. So with all those things being considered in this, I do think Tremaine Edmunds is a possibility to be a cap casualty for the Chicago Bears team heading into next year. Again, smaller one because of how he's played under Dennis Allen, but still one that's definitely there. Next up, Cole Kmet. Now, this is an interesting one because, of course, we have Colston Loveland here. But like I said, the whole offseason is predicated about not creating more questions where you don't necessarily have to create questions at. While Cole Kmet did not have the receiving years that he's had in prior years, guess what he did have? He did have a really good blocking year, and he even still was solid in that. Him and Colston Loveland turned into the tight end tandem that Ben Johnson likes to have on that offensive side of the ball. And considering the offense was one of the top offenses in the league last year, I just don't see this Bears team wanting to take away a potential weapon in that. Even if they do feel they're able to get another, solid 2 here. Yeah, is Cole Kmet better than your average tight end 2? Absolutely. But at the same time, I'm always operating from a place of operating from a surplus of talent if you have the opportunity and the option to do so. Now, with Cole Kmet's contract, though, you look at it, he's a cap hit of $11 million. Only $3 million would turn into dead cap if you were to cut him now. And so that's a question that the Bears would have to do. If it's a post-June 1st cut, even better, right? So you got to look at those things for it. I don't expect Cole Kmet to be cut at all. I think he's going to stay here with the Chicago Bears. I think he should. But again, it's just an option there that if the Bears decide to do so. But those are the 3 players that have, if the Bears are looking for the biggest splash as far as getting the most money back, that's kind of what you can look at. DJ Moore is more of a trade candidate. Tremaine Edmunds is still a huge cut candidate. And Cole Kmet is a possibility if the Bears is like a break glass in case of emergency option. I just don't necessarily see them doing it. But like I said, we shall see what's going to happen there. But with that said, getting into the last topic overall for today, the Bears Stadium. There's been a lot made of the Bears Stadium here recently. Where are the Bears going? They're going to Indiana. They're going to XYZ. Mark Silvey on Waddle and Silvey talked about that in regards to, and he said this. The Bears are tired of waiting around and will commit to Northwest Indiana for their new stadium if they cannot get a deal done with the state of Illinois by February or early March. If the Bears are told at the end of February that they get what they want from the state of Indiana and they go to Illinois, Illinois says we need more time, they will take their bags and move to Northwest Indiana. That is a huge statement. Once Indiana came on board with this, it changed a lot, right? The state of Illinois, Arlington Heights, all the type of stuff. It's just been so much back and forth. And the Bears want to break ground on the stadium. They want to get this done so they can start getting their stadium open. That's what they want to do. Indiana has moved quickly, moved diligently as far as passing legislation that will provide the Bears what they need to build a new stadium. And because of that, that leaves you on the other side where we can see the Chicago Bears not play in Chicago. Now, they would not be the only team that doesn't play technically in the state, that the city they represent, but it would be a huge hit to the state of Illinois and to the city of Chicago if you don't stay in Illinois. And so at the end of the day, like, the Bears want what they want. They want to be able to build something that is more than just a stadium. They want to build an epicenter. And they've moved diligently and been very concerned in that effort and very consistent in that message of what they want to build and what they're trying to get out of their next stadium when they break ground. They've been consistent in that. And hey, if that leads them to go to Northwest Indiana or Northeast Indiana, so be it. It's going to suck. It's going to be weird, but so be it. But hey, you guys can let me know how you feel on that, as always, on everything down below, man. But that's going to do it for today's episode, man. Who do you think is the most likely to be cut for the Chicago Bears if they decide that they need to cut somebody to revamp this defensive line? Who do you absolutely think they should not cut? I want to hear that from you guys down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. If you're not already subscribed, you can follow us at Chi Bear Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.